Hey guys, the WalterFootball.com After Dark Show for July 2nd, 2025. We have some news today. There's some gambling stuff that's going on. I'm sure you guys heard it on Twitter. We're going to discuss that, as well as two trades that happened in the past 2 days that are going to impact fantasy football and the NFL in general. So before we get into all that, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, I'm wearing something from the merch store. It is the AMC 801 t-shirt. I chose this specifically today because Adam Aaron once again screwed over shareholders by diluting more. AMC down to 270 a share, I think. So this is gambling. So this is financial advice. Do not invest in AMC. You will lose money. So you could buy that shirt as well as many other shirts on the merch store. You could change the colors. You can get a hoodie. You can get long sleeve. You can get even a toddler onesie. We have all these options here. We have mugs. We have our apron. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks of the College Years, which has a 5 out of 5 rating. So it might be the best book of all time. We don't know, but it is rated as such, even though it's only 2 ratings. Also, please consider super chats, super stickers. It's the best way to support the show. It really is. I can't say that enough. I mean, we really need your help, guys. Like, YouTube ads are horrible. So you guys contributing is like 8x, like what we usually would get from YouTube ads. So any help there would be appreciated. But we are joined today by Ben Wassley from the FFDFantasyFootball.com. Ben, how's it going?
Look, it's good to be here. Happy Canada Day. Happy New Australian Financial Year Day today. Happy Darren Waller Returns Day. I'm knocking my microphone over. Happy Walt's new microphone day. It's all happening. Hello.
That's
good to be here.
Yeah. It's a great day unless you don't look at the gambling stuff that just happened with the bill that was introduced. But yeah, we have a new microphone here, new camera as well. Got all brand new equipment. I actually ordered this stuff like a week ago, or it came a week ago. And I realized, oh man, I don't have enough USB ports, so I had to get a USB converter thing. So I have that here, so we're all good to go. Hopefully, you guys can hear me well, but I think it should be a lot better than before. Okay, so we have, like I said, we have 2 pieces of news here, and I figure that we'll probably spend less time on the gambling stuff, just because it does not impact our co-host here because he lives in Australia, but he has not heard it yet. So I want to gauge his reaction. And if anyone listening, if you guys want to chime in on how ridiculous this is. So I don't know. Well, let me ask you first, Ben, before I tell you what happened. How do you pay taxes on gambling earnings in Australia, or even, I assume you do, and in relation to like your losses, like can you deduct your losses from your gambling winnings? Like how does that work?
I mean, yeah, because you would just consider your profits, I would assume, would be a very logical way of doing it, as you would with any gains you make in any business.
Right. So, for example, if you made $10,000 gambling one year, but your losses were $8,000, so you net $2,000, right? So yeah. I would assume that you would pay taxes on the $2,000. Is that correct?
Yes, that's how businesses work.
Yeah, exactly. That's how gambling has been in America as well until 2026, when everything's going to change. Apparently, I don't think this has been passed yet, but we have this huge bill that's going through. It's called the Big Beautiful Bill by Trump. It's a lot of stuff in it, some good stuff, some bad stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous that they can't vote on like one thing at a time. It has to be like the thousands of pages that no one can read. It's so ridiculous. If I were in charge, I'd say nothing more than 200 words. Let's just vote on 200 words at a time. But apparently someone made a last-minute revision to this bill that would say that you are capped on your losses in gambling by 90%. So in the prior example, if you made $10,000, so you'd have the $10,000. If you had your losses at $8,000, it's 90% of that is $7,200. So you could only deduct $7,200 of your losses. So you'd foot the bill on $2,800 in profits, even though you profited $2,000. So you can see by your reaction that you think this is very silly or stupid. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but tell us what you think about this.
Well, so now not only do you have to pay the bookmakers VIG, you have to pay the government's VIG as well. That's so strange.
Yes. And people who you could actually, like, depending on how it unfolds, you could actually owe more money than you made, depending on, someone gave an example, like, if someone made a professional bettor, made $3 million in profits, but lost 2.8 million. They would be, they normally pay tax on 200,000, but with the 90% of that of 2.8 million is a lot of money that you'd not be able to deduct. So there are examples where you're going to pay more money than you made in taxes, which makes no sense. The only people not hurt by this are people who don't lose. So they don't have to, there's nothing to deduct anyway, or people who lose way too much money and, like, it doesn't matter anyway. Like, say for example, you lost 10,000, or you made 10,000, but you invested $15,000 in your gambling. Like, that's just way more than it anyway. So 90% of 15,000 is 13.5 thousand. So you're still covered that way. But the people who win, like, at a normal rate, like normal human beings, like recreational bettors too, like, they are screwed by this. Absolutely ridiculous, I think. So I'm glad to see that you're on board with this, because there's a lot of people complaining about it on Twitter. I saw some professional DFS players and poker players joke. For example, Chris Moneymaker is a professional poker player. He tweeted, he's like, hey, I have a 25-year gap on my resume. Do you think I'll be able to get hired? So yeah. So Big T, who runs I forget the actual website, but he's a professional DFS player. He's really good at what he does. He was saying this, like, man, I'm gonna have to work a real job now. So it's pretty rough. Or you could just ignore the IRS, which is dangerous, but I don't know. Maybe people should do it. If everyone does it, then they can't do anything, right? But let me.
I mean, they're kind of risking tanking the gambling industry a little bit, because they're removing everyone's margins entirely. Like, it is entirely possible this entirely ruins the gambling industry, or alternatively just leads to a whole heap of people not paying taxes.
Yeah. Or what? By the way, Big T from Run Pure Sports. I just had brain fart. Or people would just go offshore books. Like, I've never been once sent a tax bill from bookmaker.eu, like, never once. So not that I haven't IRS paid taxes on it, but they don't give you any sort of tax form, because they're based in whatever country, I don't know, Costa Rica or something.
Yeah.
The downside is
yeah,
right. Well, but I know Bovada is in Costa Rica. Like, the downside is that you can't sue them, which is a problem, because as I talked about before, both Charlie Campbell and an emailer who sent me just screenshots of this, like, they got screwed by Bovada. The emailer sent me screenshots. He made like $32,000 on draft prop bets one year when, like, Charlie hit everything. I think it was the year that he called, like, Jameer Gibbs to the Lions and Bijan to the Falcons. So he made on, or quote unquote should have made on Bovada $32,000, but they refused to pay him out because they called him a gambling syndicate because he made too much money apparently. And he asked me, he's like, Walt, should I ask my lawyer to call them or something? I'm like, they're not in America. They're just going to laugh at your lawyer. They're not going to do anything. Like, they're not, you can't sue them. So that's the one downside. But there are really good sports books that are offshore, like bookmaker.eu, for example. But still, like, I'd rather bet on, FanDuel, DraftKings, etc., because you get paid out quicker and you have more options. But that is going to drive people to Bookmaker and Bovada. I don't know if Bovada still exists, but others, BetUS, for example, like other sports books like that. So that's like one way to kind of skirt this. It's ridiculous, but hopefully it doesn't get passed. It hasn't been passed yet, and if it does, it won't be in effect till 2026. So we get 5 more months of fun before we have to pay the piper.
that is so truly true. It just has the feeling of someone who's gone, oh, look, the gambling industry is really big, but the one thing people don't do enough is win. We should really find a way to penalize them for just betting in general.
Yes.
Without actually thinking about the consequences of what that's going to cause people to do, which is stop betting.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like the government just wants you to stop doing anything productive. Like, they just want you to sit at home and just feed off the government so they can control everything. That's I actually posted this today. I said the true enemy of the American people isn't China or Russia or any country in the Middle East. It's the federal government, which I as a libertarian, I firmly believe. So it is awful. I hope this doesn't inspire anyone in Australia to do something similar for your sake, Ben. That would be horrible.
Look, our government loves gambling. We have very high gambling rates here, mostly on poker machines. They're just absolutely insane here. I think we're world leaders in it, but our government finds enough ways to make money out of taxing the people who actually run the machines.
Well, I have to ask you my weekly or wherever you're on my Australia question. So so that's interesting. How prevalent are these poker machines? Like what
Oh,
I want to compare them to Vegas. Like in Las Vegas, like they're in everywhere, like in the airport even.
oh,
I like
every pub, every bar, every like sports clubs. Like if you go to like lawn bowls is a big thing in Australia, which probably isn't a thing in America. I don't even know what the equivalent would be.
Mhm.
Is a big thing in Australia, and it's just like a social sports club. They all have poker machines in them. Like you go anywhere, I could walk 200 meters in any direction, and I'd find pokey somewhere.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. It sounds like my kind of place. It sounds great. Slew's complaining about your background there. Do you want to touch on that before we talk about the trades?
Yeah, my dishwasher flooded my apartment. So I'm sitting in my living room, dining room. I guess I'm sitting at my dining room table against a blank wall because currently last time I was recording, in fact, I discovered that as we started to record, I was like, why are my feet wet? And turned out I was sitting in a puddle. And so the whole of the last time I was on the show, I had my feet like in like half-inch deep water in the carpet. And so while that's being repaired, I'm just sitting at my living room.
Well, hopefully the repair goes quickly. That is a bummer, but anyway, let's jump into the trades that happened. There are two trades back to back. The first one, if you guys haven't heard, the Steelers and Dolphins were involved, and I think it was actually like two trades between the teams, but combined, the Steelers got Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. The Dolphins got Micah Fitzpatrick, and there's like late round pick swap, which a fifth and a seventh is not like too relevant. And then the second trade, which happened this morning, the Dolphins apparently coaxed Darren Waller out of retirement. They traded for him for a late round swap as well, sixth and the seventh. So in summary, the Dolphins got Micah Fitzpatrick and Darren Waller. The Steelers got Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, and the Giants got an upgrade from a seventh round to a sixth round. So what are your thoughts on these trades? Just in general, and also in fantasy.
To start off with, in general, I think they mostly make sense. We know the Steelers need a lot of help, and while we thought they'd probably go for a wide receiver, I don't think it's totally illogical to go tight end. You go a lot more tight end sets, and all of a sudden, two tight end sets, and all of a sudden you're going to strengthen your run game. You've got a proper pass catching tight end. I think Pat Frymouth was getting a lot of volume and hence opportunities, which made him good for fantasy. But he's not actually that good for football. He wasn't doing much with them. You get a proper pass catching tight end. You can let Frymouth be more of the inline guy, and all of a sudden you're going to strengthen both your pass game and your run game as a result. Obviously, I think getting Jalen Ramsey for them is big. We know they have a history of dealing with prickly characters, and I think it makes total sense for him to go over to Pittsburgh. They seem to be able to get the best out of those sorts of guys. As for Miami, I mean, I think it ultimately makes sense if you consider that they might possibly. Initially, I thought maybe they're acknowledging they're rebuilding and they're willing to get rid of their older guys. But now that we know they went to get Darren Waller, it makes a whole heap of sense as well. That they get Smith off their books and they get Waller, who is arguably a better tight end anyway. So I think both teams win all round. I think the only losers are, I guess, the Giants, who now don't have Waller, but they didn't have him anyway. So it's kind of a weird trade where everyone wins a bit.
Yeah. They just they upgraded their seventh round pick to a sixth round pick, so it's not like relevant at all. I think the Steelers are the big winners of this trade. If I had to assign one team that won, I think it's the Steelers, because I feel like they got significantly better. The cornerback was a big problem for them. Jalen Ramsey is 30, but he still played well last year. It's not like he's not like the same player he was once with the Rams and whatnot, but he is still a really good player, and he upgrades the position that was really weak for them. And then Jonnu Smith, like you said, they could play two tight end sets. They needed a second receiver, but he can act as a second target after DK Metcalf. So I like the move for Pittsburgh. I think it made them better. Like Micah Fitzpatrick is gone, but he was also coming off a down year. Like granted, he's only 28, but he struggled last year. And they have two good safeties in theory, in Sean Elliott and Juan Thornhill. And Thornhill did not play well last year, but he had some good moments in Kansas City. And he's still young enough to bounce back. So there's a chance that the Steelers won't really miss Fitzpatrick, and they'll have two upgrades. So I think this makes them. I did a video on this. Like I said that I don't think this puts them in the top 3 of the conference, which would be in no order: Buffalo, Baltimore, and Kansas City. But I think it gives them a chance to be that 4th team. That I was kind of like trying to figure out like who would be the 4th best team in the conference, because there's a bunch of teams like the Steelers, the Chargers, Texans, maybe Jaguars if Lawrence stays healthy. Maybe the Broncos if Bo Nix takes a big leap in his second year. There's a lot of candidates, and I think now the Steelers would be the favorite there. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I really do like the Broncos this year. I think they've got a really solid chance of having a good year. I think you also need to mention the Bengals if if their defense actually just does something at all. I think they could be good, because if you think about what they were like a couple of years ago, they really haven't. They had an awful defense then as well. They can play well with an awful defense, so I can imagine them being the 4th team as well. But I think this definitely elevates the Steelers a little bit. It is hard to get by when Calvin Austin is your second wide receiver, even if you've got Jonnu Smith. I think if they can get one more feasible wide receiver, all of a sudden they could be very, very good. But even as it is, I still think that they're going to be a real threat.
Maybe that'll be Roman Wilson. He was 3rd round pick for them. They generally draft pretty well on day 2 for receivers. He was out most of last year because of an injury, but I don't know. Maybe he can remerge. I did draft Calvin Austin in the best ball league one time a few days ago. It just feels like all the receivers are gone. Like I wanted Dante Thornton, he was gone. I wanted Pat Bryant, he was gone. Like it was like the 18th round, and all the receivers I wanted were gone. And I was like, I'll take a shot at Calvin Austin. I haven't drafted him yet, but not like too optimistic about it. But he's one of those guys who can like break open a game. Like he'll do it like twice a year. He did it like 2 or 3 times last year where he had like 18 fantasy points. But the rest of the time he gets like 0. So he's not ideal in regular fantasy. As for the Dolphins, I didn't really like the trade for the Dolphins. It feels like you're higher on it than I am. I just feel like they got worse, unless like Darren Waller comes back and plays well. But we haven't seen a good Darren Waller season since 2021. 2022, he played 7 games. He only had like 250 yards. In 2023, he had like 550 yards, 1 touchdown, I believe. He missed, I think he missed 7 games that year. And then 2024, he retired to become a rapper. Apparently, I guess that career did not go well because he's back. I haven't heard any of his songs, but I don't know. Maybe he's like the best rapper ever. Like no one's heard him, but he's back. But he's 33. He's gonna be 33 in September. And it feels like, after a year off, a 33-year-old tight end who's always injured in the first place, like I just can't see him staying healthy the whole year. So unless he bucks that trend and somehow is like the Waller of old in like 2019 when he had 1,000 yards, I feel like Miami got worse, losing Jonnu Smith and like losing Jalen Ramsey. Like they have nothing at cornerback. I think their starting corners are Storm Duck and Cam Smith, which doesn't sound great, So they did get Fitzpatrick, but like I said, he's coming off a down year, so I don't know if that's going to reverse. But I do know Miami always regretted that. I talked to a source, Charlie introduced him to me. This is back in, I believe, 2021, and it was like, or whatever it was like right after the Steelers traded Fitzpatrick to the Dolphins, and like he said, like the Dolphins like really just hated that trade that they made. It was like instant regret that they did that is. So I guess that's why they wanted him back so badly. But yeah, I could see like if Waller does well, I could see this helping Miami, but I think it'll make Miami worse, which might be a good thing because I think that's start over.
Yeah, look, I think it goes either way. Like to me, it feels like Miami is in a window where their best players are aging out. They kind of need to strike now, and trading for younger players isn't really the option. They either need to trade for picks or they need to trade for veterans, have one last go, and then recognize it's not going to work. I feel like this is them doing that. They're taking a big swing. They need to take a big swing. They need to get someone who could possibly be a star for them. And Darren Waller was probably the only tight end who's reasonably available to do that at a position where they could reasonably do it feasibly without paying a whole heap of money. So I feel like it was sensible in what they did. I can see the upside in what they're trying to do. And we knew they were going to lose Jalen Ramsey anyway. He was essentially not there. So they got Fitzpatrick when they didn't really have Ramsey anyway. So I consider that to be a general positive, because the alternative is that they just end up in some sort of awkward standoff with Ramsey and they get nothing for him.
That's a good point. Yeah, he basically wasn't there, so that's true. I heard that they were trying to trade for Michael Mayer from the Raiders. I guess that didn't work out, but I don't know. Like, would you rather a Mayer who hasn't done anything but is young, or a Waller who may fall apart after 3 games? So I don't. But you get his rap song, so which is a bonus.
I mean, look, he's going to fit in so well with Tyreek Hill. It's beautiful. But,
That's true.
yeah, look, Michael Mayer would have been really interesting, but they kind of have plenty of blocking tight ends. They really needed a true receiver. And let's face it, Waller is just plain a receiver. That's really all he is. And he gives them that third receiving option, which I feel like is valuable to them.
Yeah, he was a receiver in college, so that makes sense. The boss asking, got the 9th pick, planning to go 2 receivers between Neighbors, Nico, and Brian Thomas. Set on Thomas, but really torn between which other receiver. I would rank Neighbors number 1 in order. I would rank Neighbors, Thomas, and Nico Collins, just because apparently CJ Stroud has some shoulder soreness. Or something, which gives me some concern. You know, anytime you hear quarterback and shoulder, I worry. Brian Thomas is just a freak athlete. So I think he's gonna be great. But I think there's a good chance that Neighbors this time next year is going to be viewed as like potential number 1 overall pick. I think he could have an insane season. I love him. And think about like what he did last year. Like he was at an insane pace with Daniel Jones. And then like the second half of the year, he's catching passes from Tommy DeVito and Drew Lock. Now I know like Russell Wilson is not good anymore. But you know, he's still better than Lock and DeVito. And even if he gets benched, just there's still Jameis Winston, who I mean, look what Cedric Tillman and Jerry Jeudy would do with Jameis Winston. Like I feel like Neighbors could go nuts with him. And then if they go to Jackson Dart, like he's a promising quarterback. Like he's still better than Locke and DeVito. So I love Neighbors this year. How would you order these 3 receivers?
I totally agree. Like the Giants will not be good this year, but Neighbors will be very good this year for fantasy and just in general for football. There will definitely be some sort of quarterback upgrade from a purely passing perspective, no matter which quarterback ends up starting. And probably Russell Wilson initially. But even by the end of the season, if it's one of the other two, it's not going to be Tommy DeVito. It's going to be an improvement. So he will be better this season. I struggle as to whether he's my wide receiver 4 or my wide receiver 5, but I've got him way above the others. I do understand that Brian Thomas has some upside as well, and I have him clearly ahead of Nico Collins. Collins, I have a heap of concerns about, not just CJ Stroud, but also the fact that they're bringing in a heap of other wide receivers. They're trying to give themselves other options. That just says they don't want to give 1 million targets to Nico Collins. They want to have a more well-rounded offense, which is good for the Texans. I think it will make them better this year, but it's bad for Nico Collins for fantasy in general. So for me, it's Neighbors, then a gap, then Thomas, then a gap, then Nico Collins.
Yeah, I agree. Neighbors, I think, is my number 6 or 5 overall player this year. The top 4 in no order, really. I can't remember what the order is, but it's Chase, Jefferson, Barkley, and Bijan, and then I have Neighbors 5th. I know some people would have like Jahmyr Gibbs over him. I worry about Detroit's offensive line. I know people have CeeDee Lamb over him. I just don't trust Dallas's coaching or the offensive line. Who else is there? Like Nakua, you know, they brought in Adams, plus Nakua always seems to be hurt. I don't know anyone else who might be there off the top of my head, but where would Neighbors be for you? in your overall rankings?
For wide receivers specifically, I've got Chase, then Jefferson, then a bit of a gap, then Lamb, then a bit of a gap, then Nakua and Neighbors are really close for me at 4 and 5. It depends on your league and the settings as to how they compare to running back. So it depends on whether it's a PPR league or a half PPR league. That makes a massive difference. It depends on whether you're starting 2 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers. It depends on whether you have 1 flex spot or 2 flex spots. It depends on whether it's a 10-team league or a 14-team league, because that changes the value of running backs relative to wide receivers. It depends on whether it's super flex or not. I assume it's not, or you wouldn't even be making this conversation. So there's a whole heap of things that you need to consider before you start comparing between positions. But I would definitely be having Neighbors well ahead of the other 2 regardless. And if he's around at the 9th pick, it really doesn't matter what the setting is. He's probably a good selection.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I have him 3rd, but like I said, I think this time next year we could be viewing him as the receiver 1. Can you update your rankings for 13th? I actually did today, the boss. So now that it's July, I'm gonna update it like almost every day. In August, I'll update every single day, but it is updated. Betting Miami is easy. Just bet against them in December. So you don't have to worry about losses there because you won't lose much but with the Dolphins. So we entered this bus ball draft. We have the 5th pick to close up the show. So with the 5th pick, if the top 4 go, it would be Neighbors for me, but I would assume that you would go I guess Lamb instead. Who would you pick number 5 overall? Let's look at these ADP right here.
Yeah, I probably would go Lamb, but I mean, look, I wouldn't fight you for Neighbors. My rankings are obviously for redraft, which makes a big difference. I do think Lamb is a little bit safer for redraft than Neighbors. Neighbors does have a lot of weekly upside, which I really like. So I can see the benefit in best ball. I'd certainly have Neighbors ahead of Nakua in best ball. So could be Neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, he was going crazy to start the year. The second week, 31, 28, 26. This game against the Eagles was a disaster for everyone with the Giants. Then he had 14 against a great Steeler defense, 14.9 against the Redskins. And where did Jones go down? Was it this game? I think it might have been this game. And then he had a 39 at the end of 24. So all this was with DeVito and Locke. So I think that he's gonna have. He was only a rookie, so I think he's gonna have an awesome season. I'm really looking forward to having him in a lot of my best ball teams. I think he's probably the highest player I've drafted in the first round. Just because they keep taking him at like 5 and 6 and whatnot. So Chase, Barkley, Robinson, go. If it's Jefferson, we will go with your guys, CD Lamb, and I'm okay with that because I have Neighbors in so many drafts, so I kind of want to see what a Lamb team would look like, and I guess we would try to stack him with actually Gibbs goes, so we get Jefferson. We get Jefferson. Yeah, sometimes you see a surprise here and there. So you're good with Jefferson, I take it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big win.
Okay, yeah, I agree. So yeah, we don't get to take CeeDee Lamb here. We get Jefferson, and I was looking at week 17. I know that you don't like looking at the playoff schedule, but if you're in the main best ball contest on DraftKings, you're going to be fighting against 1,000 people in week 17. So like you kind of have to try to optimize for week 17 a little bit. And I believe that Minnesota has real quick. I'm gonna look here. Week 17 schedule NFL. They have the Detroit at home, so they play inside. They play against a team that lost its defensive coordinator. Granted, Hutchinson's coming back, but it doesn't seem like Detroit has that great of a defense. So I like the idea of stacking Minnesota players, and plus we saw the two that first Detroit Minnesota game last year was a shootout. The second one, not so much because Sam Darnold really struggled, but I think that that's a good situation. Minnesota being at home against Detroit, I like that spot. There are a couple other ones like Cincinnati plays against Arizona. Like both those teams have easy matchups, and I think Tennessee, New Orleans. It seems like both teams have easy matchups there too. Which I guess like the problem with New Orleans is that they suck, and if you take those players, you're not gonna be in the championship anyway. So
I think in that case it makes a lot of sense in particular to at least look at whether it's home or away. Like you're not going to know definitively what the good matchups are for fantasy, but you will know that being at home is going to be a benefit. It also is really fun here that Malik Neighbors was taken with the number 9 pick.
that is funny.
Yep.
So yeah, the first round is complete. Anything you disagree with in round 1, or do you think it's kind of stock here at this point?
Jameer Gibbs at 3 is a move, I guess. I don't really know why someone would do that. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me at 104. The rest is pretty much in line. That's too early for me for Nico Collins. Brian Thomas on the turn. There's a bit of a win, but the guy with the 11th pick taking Nico Collins and then backing him up with Drake London, that just feels like last place to me.
Yeah, it does. I'm okay with Collins, but and I definitely agree with the concerns there. But London at 202 seems like just killing your upside. I think he has a high floor, but there's not much upside there. So I don't like that move at all. Derrick Henry falls to 205. He's been falling. He's been falling to the second round lately. I don't know if you think about
that. That is what I mean. I understand it's PPR and stuff, but and Keaton Mitchell's back, but even so, that's pretty wild.
All right, we're up after this Shark Ivan guy. So Bowers, Taylor, Rice, Irving, Jacobs. Okay, he took Bowers. So who do you want to take here?
Taylor for me.
Taylor for you. Okay, why Jonathan Taylor?
I feel like he's like the last one on his tier of running backs. I feel like there's a bit of a gap before you get to guys like Josh Jacobs, and then a big gap below that. Whereas with the wide receivers, there's just a whole heap of guys who are pretty similar to each other. I don't think anyone really stands out among the wide receivers. And I suspect my favorite wide receivers, one of them is likely to get back, because I'd ideally like to take someone like a Jackson Smith-Njigba or a T. Higgins, and I suspect they'll be back in the 3rd round.
I had an unbelievable draft it was last night actually. I actually texted it to Kenny, and I wanted to make a YouTube video out of it. But I'm gonna tell you exactly what it was. I got so Malik Neighbors was off the board when I was up. I had what pick did I have? I think I had the 8th pick or something. I took Puka Nacua at 108. Then I got AJ Brown back, and then 3rd round Bucky Irving fell to me. And then at 405, I got Jackson Smith-Njigba. I couldn't believe that like Irving fell to me and then Jackson Smith-Njigba fell to me. It was insane.
That is wild. Could we just saw Irving go at 301 here, for example? Yeah. So that's 7 picks earlier.
Yeah, that's where he usually goes. He fell late 3rd round. I'm like, is he really falling to me? And then I got Jackson Smith-Njigba. I was just like, wow, like what is happening? It was late at night. I told you before, I love drafting late at night. It feels like people are like either high or asleep. So that's the best time to get them. All right, so we're up after this one. Higgins just went. So we have Rice, Harrison, Jackson, Hill, McLaurin, JSN, Adams, Williams, Hall, etc. So who do you like here?
I mean, at this spot, I generally like Jackson Smith-Njigba and Higgins. I'd be happy to take either of them. Josh Jacobs is my best running back on the available as well. But I think it makes more sense to go wide receiver here.
Yeah, it looks like Jacobs went. So Jackson Smith-Njigba over
I would
Rice?
personally go JSN, but I wouldn't be against Higgins as well. I know he has a lot of upside in best ball as well.
Yeah, Higgins actually went 2 picks
before. Easy. Okay, yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect then.
What do you think about Rashee Rice? I've been hearing a lot of negativity on him, just listening to random shows. I do like him. I think like late 2nd round is usually too early, a little too early in my opinion, but mid 3rd round seems okay. What are your thoughts on him?
He's my wide receiver 23 at the moment. I don't like the whole situation in KC around their pass catches. I feel like there's a lot of sufficient wide receivers, and yet we know that during the regular season, they just generally try to do enough. They're going to rely on a really good defense, and they're not going to need to score a lot of points, and they're just kind of going to get through games. I feel like that's going to hurt all their wide receivers, and I don't think there's any reason to believe that Rice is going to be the clear superstar when they've now got a good 1st rounder in Xavier Worthy. They've got a healthy Hollywood Brown. Travis Kelce is still there, and they still need to get opportunities to look at Taylor Swift in the box. So I feel like there's a whole heap of situations where you're going to see Rice disappoint. Not to mention the fact they hopefully will be able to run the ball with a healthy Isaiah Pacheco as well.
I was not expecting Taylor Swift to come up in an analysis, but it's true. They definitely want to feature her for sure. I'm higher on Rice than you are. I have him as my receiver 11, so we definitely disagree on that one. But you could be right. I mean, look, I could be wrong about this. I just think that I think Kelsey's washed up. I don't really see much out of him. Even the playoffs last year, he really didn't do much. So, like, that's usually where he shines, and he didn't do much. So, I don't know. And he's already thinking about retirement. It just feels like he's almost done already. But I don't know. It's interesting to say the least. I think Rice is just super talented, and we don't have to worry about the suspension because the American court system is taking its time. It said they're not going to be there's not going to be a trial to 2026, and the NFL's already said that they're not going to suspend them until they know the verdict. So. That at least you don't have to worry about. But we're up in a couple picks here. The best players available are Breece Hall, James Cook, DK Metcalf, Jameson Williams, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Xavier Worthy, Hampton, McMillan, etc. Who went? Hall just went. So who are you thinking? We're up in 2 picks.
My highest wide receiver at the moment, I think, is Travis Hunter. I didn't see him taken anywhere. I like James Conner best, but I think we can probably get him on the way back. We could go quarterback here. I feel like there's a little bit of a spot where I think Burrow makes sense here potentially for his upside.
So you like Burrow over Hurts? It's close. To me.
I do, but it's close. Although we could also just see if one of them gets back on the turn as well.
Well, yeah, but I would say this, that like the 2 guys you mentioned, Hunter, like look at his ADP is like way lower. Yeah. Connor's way lower. Like I feel like there's much better chance that we get those guys instead of Burrow or Hurts. So, and I feel like the guy who drafted Chase is going to take Burrow. So we can go with him there and get Joe Burrow at 408. Which I'm a fan of drafting quarterbacks in round 4 in this dead zone. Feels like this round 4 is so sketchy. I'm not a fan. It actually started at like 309 here with Adams. Just not a fan of these non-quarterbacks, non-tight ends, and I guess only one tight end, Kittle. But like I think you can make like a huge bear case against all these guys, or at least most of them. I like Sutton, but he was going around 5 like a month ago. You know, Metcalf was going around 5 a month ago. Just feels like sticker shock to me that they're going here. Is Zay Flowers, same thing. He was going around 5 a month ago. It's just like this round 4 is just such a dead area that I'm fine taking quarterbacks and tight ends here.
Yeah, of those guys that have even gone in this round, I won't talk about Evans because he was 401, but I think if Sutton had made it to us, I think that would have been a good pick. But everyone else here seems way too early. James Cook and Breece Hall seem okay. But again, you're getting so much more value out of a top quarterback than you are out of these kind of like middling wide receivers and running backs.
So that this guy picking first, Witty, he took Hurts, and I think he's probably tilted that we took Burrow. I've been in the same situation where I took Chase, and I'm like, okay, I'll just take Burrow at 412, and he doesn't get to me, and I'm like, I'll take Hurts instead. It's like you're not stacking it, but like you're still getting your QB1. And really, I don't know how you feel about this, but to me, like there were like just five top tier quarterbacks. Allen, the 5 guys who went, Allen, Jackson, Daniels, Hurts, and Burrow, and then there's like a huge gap after that. Do you agree?
Totally agree. I think it makes a massive difference, and I think there's a huge gaping hole. I know that Baker Mayfield has the upside to be closest to those guys, but his downside is also very low as well.
Yeah, new coaching staff. Evans getting older. I agree. So we're up in 2 picks. So Hunter and Connor are still here. Who Hubbard went. So the top players available: Hampton, McMillan, Kamara, Pickens, Walker, Hunter, Ridley, Waddle, Connor, Laporta. Would you take any of those guys over Hunter and then Connor?
Personally, I wouldn't. I've got Kamara pretty close. I admit I wouldn't be mad at Kamara, but I do prefer Connor, and I think that in this setup where you're starting 3 wide receivers, it makes sense to go wide receiver anyway. Because I know that there is a chance that Connor gets back regardless. So I would personally go Hunter. I don't really see anyone else that I've got that's even particularly close to him in my wide receiver rankings. I think the next guy I've got is like, there's no one within 7 rankings of him that's still available. So I would take Hunter.
Okay, let's go Hunter. I want to ask you about him before we do. We have a comment here I wanted to read. Let me scroll down. Sue saying, would Ben take a 3 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old to the mall and pay $40 for them to play at a nice play place for 30 minutes. This is based on my Jerks of the Week encounter where I met up with my friend, my longtime friend. And so my son's 3, my daughter's a year and a half. We took them to the mall and they had a play place there with lots of toys, lots of slides, ball pit, etc. But it costs $20 a kid to play there. There's no time limit, but really, like the kids get hungry and you have to leave after a half hour anyway. So would you pay $20 a pop so your kids can play for a half hour?
I mean, look, I got to be honest, I don't have kids, but if I was looking after your kids, definitely yes, because I'm terrible with kids and I would have no idea what to do with them. I'd be like, just go play, have fun. It's worth the money. I just want time.
Look, I'll say this: everyone is terrible with kids until you have your own kid. To me, when my son was born, half hour after my son was born, the nurse comes in and she looks at me. She's like, "Do you know how to change a diaper?" I'm like, "No," and she's like, "Okay, let me show you." And she leads me to the table. She changes my son's diaper, and she's like step by step, and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So I took calculus 3 in college. That was easier than this. Look, I mean, I learned and it became easy. So, it's a lot simpler than it seems before you have kids. It's I don't know. It kind of like your brain clicks on into parent mode. I think that's what happens. I assume so. And I say this, when changing diapers, it's super hard when you start because you don't know what you're doing, and then it becomes super easy, and then becomes super hard again because the kid squirms a lot and doesn't want the diaper changed. So that's it ebbs and flows. Anyway, Connor got taken, so we have to go with something else. We're up in 3 picks, so 2 picks now. Best available: Laporta, Godwin somehow is up here. Odunze, Montgomery, Swift, Mahomes, Olave, Myers, Addison, Judkins, Shakir. I keep going. Jones, Pacheco, Kelsey, Caleb Johnson. Who do you want here?
I don't mind. Aaron Jones is actually my next running back. I know you don't love going running back and wide receiver of the same team.
That's fine.
So I have him next. I also don't mind Swift here. Addison, I think, also happens to be my next wide receiver as well. So I'm all Vikings, which makes sense because we apparently are doing Vikings today. So I would be happy with any of those 3. Honestly, they're all pretty close for me.
It's National Vikings Day. Actually, my dad did one of those DNA tests. He came back as 11% Viking. So that's a good thing that we have here. So you like Jones out of these 3? Exactly. We have 3. You like Jones out of these 3?
I do, though I do recognize there is the possibility he makes it back. So I wouldn't be mad at going Addison here. I know that wide receivers kind of do tend to disappear pretty quickly. Yeah,
let's go Addison because I feel like one of these running backs will come back to us. Yeah. Maybe not, but I think there's a chance that they will. And if not, we can always find a running back later. So I like that we have 4 receivers already. Let's look at the past couple rounds. We talked about round 4. Anything stand out to you in round 5 and most of round 6 already?
I continue to be surprised that James Conner keeps falling in drafts. We see this every single year. It's literally been 5 years in a row where everyone's been where I've taken James Conner very late in draft and had him in half of my teams, and he's just amazing for 60% of the year. I know he'll be injured some of the time at times, but realistically, he's just a really good running back, and he continues to be undervalued in fantasy. He will fall off a cliff at some point in time, but he's the one that always stands out to me around this 5th and 6th round area.
Yeah, I don't mind Connor. His age kind of worries me a bit, but we've seen no signs of decline. So I could see him having another good year. I've been taking Trey Benson a little bit, not a lot. I'm not a huge fan, but if Garendo and Dre Davis are off the board, my favorite running backs there. I will try to take Trey Benson. Aaron Jones goes. Let's see if we get Swift. Hopefully, Swifty comes back to us here. He's the top available player, so this could be an auto draft for Giants and Wharfs. Who's on the clock right now. If Swift is gone, we have Myers, Judkins, Kelsey, Caleb Johnson, Diggs, Mayfield. Okay, Swift is available. Anyone else stand out to you here, or do you just want to go Swift?
The only other one I was considering was Hawkinson. Again, Viking, but also because he is my tight end 4, but I would go Swift.
Yeah, I get Hawkinson usually in round 8, so I feel like we can get him on the way back. So let's go Swift. So our bye week guys are all fine. Nothing stands out. So I was going to ask about Travis Hunter earlier. That you appear to be pretty high on him. So why do you like Travis Hunter so much?
I feel like they are going to have to justify that pick. I feel like they're going to find ways to get him the ball. They need to prove that it was worth all the money they spent. They've copped a fair bit of flack in some areas for doing it, and they're going to want to show that they made a good decision. They're going to pass the ball quite a lot. I think their run game was just awful last year, and they couldn't get it going, and I don't see that happening this year either. They no longer have Evan Ingram there. I think Brendan Strange is going to be good, but they're not going to feed him 15 targets like they did with Ingram at times last year. So I feel like we're going to see a whole lot of Thomas and Hunter. And if something happens to Brian Thomas, all of a sudden Travis Hunter is going to be like a top 10, potentially a top 5 wide receiver because they've got nothing else at all. So I think the upside is huge. And I feel like, especially in best ball, that weekly upside is going to be big as well.
Yeah, no, the upside is definitely huge. Assuming Lawrence stays healthy, which I would assume is going to be the case. Yeah, I can see it. Like my only worry is like we don't really know what they're gonna do. But I would assume like you said that they're going to try to justify the pick, and I try to play him full time at both positions. I don't know how this is going to work, but I mean, he did in college. But then again, it's not like when he was playing against like the Cincinnati's of the world and the UCFs. No offense to those schools, but those they didn't have Nico Collins on their team, or Calvin Ridley, who he's got to face against twice per year. So it's a little scary for his cornerback prospects, but I have more faith in him as a receiver at the next level. I feel like you can play receiver. You can play receiver if you're doing part-time work, but for cornerback, feels like you need to do more work in practice and film, But I don't know. I'm really interested to see how that develops because
I agree. I have real issues with the idea of him playing part-time cornerback. I just don't really see how that's going to work effectively, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah. All right. We're up in 2 picks. Hawkinson's still there. Knock on wood. My table is wood. So that worked out. Kelsey just went over Hawkinson, which is strange. We have Mayfield, Cup. Let's pretend Hawkinson's gone. He's still there. Okay. So we can go Hawkinson's. Anyone else stand out to you as someone you'd want?
No, it's all pretty ugly, actually, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to take Hawkinson, but who would you take here if he was off the board?
It's all gross. Like I don't want. I do not want any of this. I mean, but look, Baker Mayfield has been my next best quarterback for about 3 or 4 rounds. But we already have Burrow, so we don't need another quarterback. I would have gone that otherwise. But there's a real running back dead zone here, and my next wide receiver is Xavier Worthy, Jerry Jeudy. I don't even know if they've been taken. Matthew Golden's probably my next wide receiver. There's not much going on.
Yeah, Golden got taken 801.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's even uglier than you thought. I have been taking Igbuka in the 8th round. I think he's super talented, and with Godwin already, he may not be ready week 1, already in late June, early July. I think he's going to have a big year, and I think there's a reason why they took him 19. I personally, to answer the question I asked you, I think I would go with Tyrone Tracy. I guess there might be more of a committee there, but he was so explosive as a rookie. The only issue was the fumbling, which I always say, and I think actually one of our commenters was saying this a lot, that it's really on the coaching, because we saw Tiki Barber a long time. I don't know if you remember Tiki Barber, but he used to fumble a lot, and then Tom Coughlin came in and he's like, no, you have to hold the ball like this, and he never fumbled again. So if he could fix Tiki Barber, I feel like any coach could fix the fumbling. Now, obviously, the players have to be held accountable, but I don't know. I think at some point you have to blame the coaching. All right, we're up after 1 pick, so it's still ugly, I would assume.
Can we specifically look at the running backs?
Yeah, we have 25 seconds. We have Tracy, Mason, Harris, Scatterbo, Charbonnet. Anyone there?
Tracy is the best. Let's look at the wide receivers real quick.
Okay. Pittman, Higgins, Coleman, Bateman, Harris, Shaheed, Mims.
No, yeah, let's go Tracy. I agree with you. I do agree. I have Tracy ranked highest of all the Giant running backs by a margin. I
Okay.
understand what they're doing with Scadaboo. They need a bigger back. They've got two small backs. Singletary's one of the smallest backs in the league. In fact, now that Tariq Cohen's not there, I think he is the smallest back in the league. And Tracy's just not particularly good around the goal line, but he's really explosive, and they're going to use him a lot. But they do need a big back for those kind of third and short situations and those goal line situations. So it's going to hurt Tracy a bit, but he's still going to have those massive games where he has like 12 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, you're looking for that in best ball as well. So I think I like him here more than I do in regular fantasy, but I still like him in regular fantasy too. But yeah, I mean, you were talking about how ugly it is here. It is pretty bad. The picks I like that were made in round 8 and 9, and you mentioned Golden, he's okay. Ibuka, I love. Pearsall, I've been shaking a lot. I know you're lower on the Niner guys, but I mean, he wasn't on the board when we were at 808. Mark Andrews, I've drafted in round 9, not round 8. You mentioned Mayfield, 812, I think is okay value. And then Higgins is okay. That's about it. Anything else stand out to you here as being decent?
There's a lot of pretty wild picks here. Like Evan Ingram going in the 7th round was insane.
Yeah.
Taking Bo Nix as the 7th quarterback off the board is interesting. Caleb Williams being the 12th quarterback off the board, I think is really good value for them. But there's some really strange picks in there, situations where you're just kind of getting players with zero value.
Yeah. Especially the guy who took Kelsey also took Laporta 2 rounds earlier. Like, I don't know. Maybe he thinks 806 is great value for Kelsey, but I don't think it is. He just even if you think he has something left, like he just tends to hold it back in the regular season. Like he's done this 2 years in a row where he's done nothing in the regular season outside of like a couple of games here and there. And then he tries to go all out in the playoffs, which, he did really well in the 2023 season. The 2024, I think he had one great playoff game and then it just didn't do much after that. The Super Bowl, he played very poorly. So I don't know. And plus, like, he's already talking about retirement. I don't know. It just seems like he has like with Taylor Swift, it feels like he has like bigger priorities, like he sees this as like something for the future. I just wouldn't take him. I don't even know where I'd take him. Like, honestly, like 11th round, I don't even know if I'd be interested. I just don't think he brings anything anymore.
I agree. Travis Kelce has for a long time been one of my favorite players. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have 0 non-dynasty shares this season. I can't see a situation where it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we're in the 10th round now. We're up in 3 picks. So overall, there's Pittman, Harris, Scadabo, Warren, Charbonnet. I'm going to start McCarthy because we've been stacking Minnesota. There's Drake May, Williams, Dobbins, Trey Harris. Does anyone stand out to you here outside of
what wide receivers are available?
Harris, Shaheed, Mims, Kirk, Burden, Kyle Williams, Thielen, Hollywood Brown, Quentin Johnson, Jack Bush.
I didn't see George Pickens go off, but I assume he's gone.
I think it was. I think it was 5th round. I think.
Okay, that is wide. Yeah, he is. That is insane. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, 5th round. I would go with Trey Harris here personally. I feel like there's just so much upside there.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be against other suggestions.
Okay, I was going to suggest McCarthy because we've been stacking Minnesota, but we do have Burrow.
Do you reckon he won't make it back?
He could, yeah, he could. I don't think Harris will make it back. So let's take Harris. I'm like, look, even if McCarthy doesn't make it back, we still have Burrow. And I'm always like, I've done some drafts with people, and like they'll say like they'll bring up a name, and I'll be like, well, we can make him on the way back. We could get him on the way back, and they say, well, let's make sure we get him. And I think that's good for regular fantasy, but I don't think that's good for best ball because I think like you need to aim to have like the best team possible for best ball. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like it's a $20 entry fee here. Like there are $3 ones, etc. But I think like, yeah, you might have a failed entry. You could just try again. And like, you need to just like in a contest where at the end you're going against 1,000 people, I think you just need to have the best team possible, and like trying to get guys on the way back, I think is a good it's a good strategy in best ball personally.
Yeah, totally agree. We're playing to win here. And that should be your attitude in fantasy as well. There's no point.
Yeah.
I know people say go and get your guy. There's a reason players go at certain points in time in drafts, and it's because the consensus of people believe something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably more likely to be right than your isolated opinion. I'm okay with going up a round to go and get something, but jumping 2 or 3 rounds to go and get someone, it doesn't make any sense. You're no longer getting any value that you might win by happening to get a guy that you believe you have insight on.
I've been in this league for Strategist one. I've been in this league since 2003. There's always one guy who drafts guys way too early. Now, this was the season where Mahomes was going to be the starter for the first time, so 2018. I love Mahomes, and one league I got Mahomes in the 10th round. And so in this league, I was like, okay, people in this league like really read my rankings and stuff. All right, we're up in the next pick. Let's see if and I'll continue the story right after this pick. So we have McCarthy. If he's off the board, anyone else stand out? Because I really want to take
we could go Javonte Williams. He is probably the starter, and we're pretty weak at running back.
I think we're fine at running. I think Taylor Swift, and, Taylor Swift and Tracy are. I didn't even.
I mean, relative to wide receiver, we're absolutely stacked.
Yeah. I want to take McCarthy just for the stack. You know.
I agree.
All right, let's do that. So anyway, I was like, okay, you know, people in this league really read my rankings. Like back when we used to do this in person, I would sit down next to someone and like they would have my rankings like right out on the table, you know. So like I know that people are trying to get my guy, and I'm like, okay, I can't get Mahomes in the 10th round here, like maybe 8th or 9th round. This one guy took Mahomes in the 4th round of this draft when like he had started one game in his career. That was that final game in 2017. So he took him in the 4th round, and like everyone was making fun of him for it. And at the end of the year, like he sent out this email. He's like, "Who's laughing now? I got Mahomes." And I'm like, you could have gotten him 3 rounds later. You could have taken other people. Like he didn't win the league, and he's still talking trash. And I'm like, dude, you could have gotten better players and won the league if you took Mahomes in the 7th. Like no one was taking him, having started one game in his career before like round 8. So to that point is like, yeah, just don't reach for players like that. There's no need. If you get a guy, you get a guy. If not, then you don't. Like you could really hurt yourself just reaching for someone, you know?
Yeah, totally 100% agree. Like no matter how much you like a guy, be patient. And if you really feel like you want to get them, then feel free to go around early.
Yeah, round early is not too bad, but I think in best ball, even that could hurt you just because you really need to have the best team possible. But in regular drafts, I think around early is fine. I've been drafting Kyle Williams lately just because I don't know. I had this like epiphany that like Drake May is just going to have a huge year. And this had to do with Slew sending over the strength of schedule. And I know you're not big on strength of schedule, but according to his research, which kind of gauged my own power rankings, the Patriots had the second easiest schedule in the NFL. The Niners had the easiest one. So I really like May just because of his running ability and whatnot. So I've been taking May a lot, and then I'm like 2 rounds later I get Kyle Williams. Like usually like round 12 or round 13 instead of this. So do you have any thoughts on that? Like do you think that's okay? Or
I really don't know what's going to happen in New England. I'm trying to work out what their depth chart even looks like. They've got like 6 viable wide receivers, and none of them are fantastic. And Stephon Diggs is nominally the number 1, but we don't know what's going to happen there. I think even if New England has an easy schedule, they're going to run the ball a heap. If they're in a game that's easy, they're probably not going to pass a whole heap. They probably need to play against like weak defenses that are good teams to really come out on top. And we don't know yet who those teams are going to be. So I just generally, as you know, I just avoid looking at schedules.
Okay. All right. So we're up in 2 picks. The top players available are Lawrence, so Loveland, Kincaid, White, Likely, Penix, Goddard, Burden, Stafford, Ray Davis. Looking at only running backs, it's White, Davis, Gorendo, Eckler, Bigsby, Algier, Wright, Doodle, etc. And anyone else stand out, or do you want to see another position?
I really like Gorendo, White, and Davis.
In that order?
Yes. Although, look, to be fair, I think White has more like weekly utility, but Garendo has way more upside, and we're aiming to win here. So if it was a normal
Yeah.
league where I might actually want to use that guy regularly, where in a given week I might need to use him for a bye week, I definitely go White because Garendo's going to do nothing most weeks. But
Yeah.
if McCaffrey gets an injury, all of a sudden Garendo's going to win you this thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a league winner, Correndo
Yeah.
potentially. I think Ray Davis as well. Like Cook's holdout keeps going, or I mean, like he's holding out. Like he could get injured that way. So we'll take Garendo, and maybe one of these guys will come back to us. We'll see.
Yep.
But yeah, Garendo is my second highest owned player. You know who number one is? It's Tyler Higbee, of course. Just take him round 19 every time. It's my third tight end.
Yeah, we just leave that space, leave that Higbee space. It's open. It's tattooed in there. So 2 tight end backs at that point. We know that
they're gonna rename round 19 the Higbee round. Unfortunately, Davis and White just both went. So much for that. But there are other good running backs, so I'm not like too concerned. This feels like this like round 12 to 15 range is just loaded with guys who could win your league. Which is like I wonder like why everyone's not taking these guys. Like why would you take Quentin Johnston or Austin Eckler or Jalen McMillan? It's just I don't understand these picks.
Or Dalton Kincaid.
Dalton Kincaid. Well, is that his first tight end? If that's so, yeah, no, he took Bowers, so never mind. I was like, if that's the starting tight end, he took him around 12. That's okay. I take you don't like Kincaid. I think he could bounce back because he had the PCL injury last year.
He could, but it's always going to. We saw how they used them last year. It's still a committee. It's still 50-50. Until it's not 50-50, there is no point in having Kincaid. And everything they've done and said suggests it's going to remain 50-50.
That's true. All right, we're up now. Same guys as last time. We'll go to running backs again. There's Bigsby, Algier, Wright, Doodle, Chubb, Roshan, etc. Anyone else or any position?
I like Algier best.
Okay.
Yeah, Algier for me. I also think Jordan Mason wouldn't be crazy given our current situation, but yeah, I like Algier.
Any receiver over Algier?
I do really like Cedric Tillman. I feel like he has a massive amount of upside. I wouldn't be mad at taking Tillman here if we wanted to flesh that out, but I think Algier makes more sense in this situation.
Okay, Tillman could fall back to us. We'll see. You did mention that running backs are weaker than receivers, so I went with Algier, but I agree he's another league winner. And I think that you could say the same about I think Rachaad White. I mean, look, if Bucky Irving goes down, he's going to be the main back there. Although they do have Sean Tucker, so you do have to worry a little bit about that. But White is still going to catch a lot of passes. Ray Davis, obviously, potential league winner. Garendo. I think Benson potentially if Connor gets hurt. And then Algier.
The concern with Benson is he going to play on third downs in the same way that James Conner does, or are you going to get a situation where you get a whole lot of Demicado suddenly?
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, guys who are not going to be league winners, Austin Eckler. Like even when Robinson got hurt last year, Eckler he got a slight uptick, but he didn't do all too much. Jaden Blue, there's 2 other running backs there. And then Spears, I just I don't know. I mean, like I don't know. I think he's a good receiving back. I like Spears a little bit, but I don't think he's like a league winner. I
don't mind Jaden Blue because I feel like there's a situation where he could be the starting running back. But I'd be more inclined to take him if I'm doing like a 0 RB strategy in redraft, as opposed to this sort of situation where he could be a starting running back, but even if he's a starting running back, he's not winning you your league. He's more likely to be useful, but he's less likely to win.
Yeah. What do you think about the Jaguars running backs as Bigsby just went? What do you think about this situation?
I think I feel nauseous thinking about it, if I'm completely honest. Like, it's just the sort of situation where you don't know who the starter is going to be. And even if you knew, you're not valuing that player particularly highly. I think if we knew definitively that someone was definitely the starter, they might be a top 20 running back, maybe. But we have no idea, and there probably isn't a starter, and it's probably a committee, and it's near definitely not going to be Tootin.
Yeah, it's the 3-man committee too. It's not 2-man committee. 2-man committee is okay, especially around 14. 3-man committee is kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
All right, so we're up in 2 picks. The best players available are Besh, Pitts. No more Tillman. Besh, Pitts, Robinson, Dubs, Strange, Rogers, Freiermuth. We're up on the clock. Any certain position you want to see?
Has Waller gone yet?
I assume he's going to be taken much later. No, 196. Do you want to take him now?
I feel like it kind of makes sense. Like he's ultimately going into the Janu Smith role. Janu Smith was going as like the 6th tight end off the board, 7th tight end. So that's not totally crazy. But if you think we can get him later, I'm not mad at that. I don't have anyone else that jumps out to me at all.
We had 2 seconds, so I took Waller. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, so our tight end buys are 6 and 12. Is something to keep in mind. Higbee is an 8, so that still works out. That's what matters, is if we can get Tyler Higbee. Actually, I've noticed a couple of drafts I've done, like Higbee hasn't been there in round 19, and I'm like, oh my god, what do I do? And then,
that happened last time we were on, and you freaked the heck out. It was great to watch.
it was horrible. I can't believe it. It's like someone took away like my bet or something. I was like, what do I do? I have no idea. So it's just the comfort zone thing.
Look at the other tight ends that just went. Like Jake Ferguson. Who would you rather have? Jake Ferguson, who is going to be average. He's going to be fine, but he's going to be average. Or Darren Waller, who could legitimately be really good. Like, I think the guys in this range, I think Waller kind of stands out a bit for best ball.
For best ball, for sure. I mean, if you just need him, I mean, he needs to outscore Hawkinson so he can have those big games. I would only take Ferguson if I had Prescott. Otherwise, I just wouldn't have any interest. And this guy does not have Prescott, so it's kind of wonder like why you would do that. And same thing with Gesicki. Like if I had Burrow, I'd take Gesicki. Otherwise, just no interest. That's kind of like how I feel about these tight ends. But you're right. Like Waller could potentially have some big games. All right, we're up in 2 picks.
Should we be thinking about another quarterback?
It depends who's here. It's Jones and Richardson if you want one of them. Let's running backs. So Doodle, Chubb, Roshan, Braylon Allen, Justice Hill, Will Shipley. I think Shipley's another potential league winner. Receiver Robinson, Hopkins, Palmer, Douglas, Wilson, Noel. I love Thornton, but around later maybe. What do you think? We're up now.
I mean, my top wide receiver is Keenan Allen, but you can get him later. Yeah. My top tight end is Brendan Strange, but we already have 2, and we need to leave the round 19 slot open. Yes. Running back, I think I'd go Braylon Allen maybe. Will Shipley I like as well, but not as much as you do because I'm concerned about the effect of AJ Dillon. So I'm happy with either of those running backs.
All right, we're going to take Allen. And then next round, what do you think about Dante Thornton?
I don't see the upside because best case scenario is he's somehow the top wide receiver, which seems very unlikely. But if he is somehow the top wide receiver, despite being drafted 2 rounds after Besh, then he's the 3rd receiver on the team that's not going to be very effective through the air anyway. So I just don't see the upside personally.
Okay, I like him a lot. I think there's a chance that he's the number 1 in Las Vegas. I think Besh I feel like is going to be their slot receiver, and Myers. He seems like I like Myers, but he's like a number 2. He's I don't think he's ever going to be like a true 1. And I think Thornton like profiles as a 1, and he's working with the first team offense already. Like he's huge, he's super athletic. Like this guy has like all the upside in the world. So I when he gets to like round 17, I like taking a shot on him. But
I think he's going to have some weeks, so I can understand the benefit of him in best ball. The problem is the true number 1 is Brock Bowers, and then the number 2 is therefore Jacoby Myers. And Ash and Genty is going to get so much receiving work as well that I really find it hard to see enough space for Thornton to get involved, even if it works out for him.
Yeah, although Pete Carroll did call Mostert Thunder to Genty's Lightning, so you have to worry about that.
Week 1 and 2, that's going to be really annoying.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? Week 1, Genty's going to get 15 carries. Mostert will get 13.
I reckon there's about like a 60% chance Mostert gets the first carry week 1.
Yes, I think so too. It's going to happen. Pete Carroll's that type of guy. It's going to happen. by the way, the both the Colts quarterbacks are available. So if you had to take one, who would it be?
Oh, I love Richardson. I don't love Richardson. He's a terrible player. But relative to the other NFL starters, but I would still take Richardson. I feel like he just has the most upside. If he starts, then all of a sudden you kind of get fantasy goals.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like who else are you going to get with the same upside in round 16?
Yeah.
Look at the other picks. I mean, Justice Hill, if Henry goes down, sure, but you still have to worry about Keaton Mitchell. Palmer, probably not. Use Andre Yuskevich, probably not. If the receivers, if Higgins goes down, sure. Lloyd, you don't know which running back's going to carry the ball. Douglas, there's no upside. It's just a high floor. You mentioned Strange, but we don't need a tight end. Freiermuth, not anymore with Jonnu there. And then we have Miles Sanders. That feels like a waste of a pick. With Keenan Allen goes, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I mean, like Richardson offers the most upside here, which is what you want in best ball. So, I like the idea of taking him around late round 16, early round 17. I've done that quite a bit. Now it could be Daniel Jones starting, but I feel like Richardson's going to play at some point. Like he's too young, and the Colts are not good. They're going to lose games, and then Jones will eventually be blamed. He's going to have some bad games. Thornton just went. So I think that Richardson will play, and you're right. Like he has the potential to just go off with his rushing yards, and like realistically, we need someone to beat Burrow, and like Burrow's going to be our quarterback in the lineup most weeks. But like Richardson has the potential to beat him out. It's not going to be like if we took like Aaron Rodgers here or something, or Shuck. Like they're not going to beat Burrow most of the time, but Richardson could. All right, we're up now. Any position you want to see? We have we need a receiver.
Do we need a receiver? I think we do, yeah.
We have 5, yeah. So Wilson, Knoll, Austin Brown, Lockett, Slayton, Io Manor, etc. 15 seconds.
I mean, Calvin Austin is the highest for me. Yeah, I do really like Arian Smith, and I feel like he's worth considering as well. I feel like we can maybe get him later, but
I've gotten him around 20 every time.
Yeah, okay, let's go Austin then, I think.
Okay, Calvin Austin and Arian Smith could be our 7th receiver in round 20. So we have 3 picks left. So what do we have? We have 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 6 receivers, 2 tight ends. So we need 1 more tight end and then 1 more receiver, and then our 3rd pick could be anything, except for quarterback, I guess. And Daniel Jones went, so he's the last viable quarterback off the board, unless you like someone else like Flacco, which I don't, because he's probably going to start for like 5 games. So yeah, I mean, so the other pick could be running back or receiver. So just
I think given we went so strong on receiver earlier, despite the 3 wide receiver setting and the fact it's PPR, I think it would make sense to go 1 more running back because we are a bit on the weak side for running back.
I agree. So let's look at who's available here, so we can add stuff to our queue. We have Sampson, Ford, Hunter, Giddens, Keaton Mitchell, Corum just went, Mostert, Brashard Smith, Neil Brooks, and Monangai. I'll stop at him. Anyone? Any couple names stand out?
I can imagine Keaton Mitchell breaking off some long runs and being very useful. He's probably technically the handcuff to Derrick Henry. So I could see situations where if Henry goes down, which obviously doesn't happen often, but if Henry goes down, Mitchell probably gets quite a lot of work. And I think even if Henry's healthy, you could see him just have some games where he just does some big stuff. He probably doesn't have quite as much upside as a true handcuff. I could think Giddens is probably the handcuff for Taylor, but we have Taylor. So I don't know that we necessarily want to do that. Blake Corum is probably the number 2.
No, he just
I do like Corum. And I also like Brashard Smith, but I don't think he has that much upside in a best ball as some of the other guys do.
Okay, so Corum just went. So we have Mitchell and Smith in our queue. So we just have to hope that these next 4 guys don't take both of them. Giddens is available. So Mostert just went. Talk about why would you take Mostert with all these young running backs available? That just doesn't make any sense.
It's nonsense. It's just it's totally illogical. Oh, is Kendre Miller there, or did he go? I didn't see whether he went.
He is available too, but
why is he so far? He's surely the obvious backup for a very old running back with some injury issues. Okay, very old's getting ridiculous with Kamara, but let's face it, he's old.
Yes.
And he has injury issues. Miller is someone that they keep on saying that they like, despite how often he's injured. Surely he's the clear backup.
Yeah. So who would you take, Miller over Mitchell and Smith?
I think I probably would.
Okay, I'll suggest this. We can take Higbee here, and then take take Miller in round 19.
You got it.
Okay, let's do it. Because his ADP is 323. No one's taking this guy. And let's queue up Arian Smith as well. His ADP is 332. It was actually 350 last night. So he's moved up. I noticed because I had to look him up. He's just way down on the list. I'm with you on Arian Smith. I think he has so much upside. And I think I told you this when you were on. I was on a Jets podcast, and they were reading emails. It was like an email, is a mailbag segment. And so I was on, and it's the Play Like a Jet podcast with Scott Mason. And he, there's so many questions, like, why did the Jets reach on Arian Smith? And every time I was like, I kind of like the pick. I had him in the third round. I think it's a good pick. And everyone's like, oh, such a reach. I'm like, well, you can't teach his speed. Keaton Mitchell just went. You can't teach his speed. He has huge upside. Yeah, he drops passes, but I feel like that's the receiver version of fumbles, where you can learn to catch passes. You can learn to have better hands. It's just concentration. Sometimes it's the LASIK that helps. I feel like you can get better there, but you can't teach the speed he has. It's impossible. So, and plus, he hasn't been dropping passes in practice from what I read. Maybe things have changed, but from what I read a few weeks ago, he was catching passes with ease. So there's a chance that he's the receiver too in that offense, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all. You can get him really late in dynasty rookie drafts as well. It's just crazy. So I don't understand what people are seeing in Smith. He played well for a good team in college as well. That's the type of player that the fantasy community usually falls in love with and is way too high on. And it's gone the opposite direction here, and I'm really surprised by that.
I don't get it. Georgia, it's a big program. Why are so many people down on him? I don't get it. Tesla just went, for example. He's not going to play. All right, so we're taking Kendre Miller. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We took Kendre Miller, and Arian Smith is still there. And by the way, Brashard Smith made it. For those wondering, there's a zero upside guy, Ty Johnson. What a waste of a pick that is. He's going to get you 8 points sometimes, or 10 points. That's not going to crack your lineup.
He'll accidentally score a touchdown occasionally.
Yeah, right. Is he going to crack the lineup with? Let's look at this guy's running backs. Hampton. Well, maybe Hampton, Montgomery. I don't like those guys. Then he has Scatterwood, Javonte Williams, and that's it. Ty Johnson. That's not the best running back core.
He might as well get Kyle Juszczyk. It's essentially the same thing. You're just getting occasional touchdowns and occasional receiving work.
Exactly. Yeah. That's not a good running back. So, as I always say, thanks for paying the rake. He took Gino, Arian Rodgers, Prescott's his quarterback. Who are his receivers? So, he took Lamb, Rice, Metcalf, Myers, Cup. He took Cup. Wan'Dale Robinson, another zero upside guy. I know that he's good in DFS because he's 4,000, and he'll score you enough to pay off his price. And I think that's why he's going way earlier than he should, because people are like, oh, DFS guy. I play Wan'Dale Robinson, DraftKings DFS. He's decent. But he gives you no upside. So what's the point? Hopkins is even worse at 1507. That's awful.
By the way, in our last draft, someone took a couple of insane Cowboys picks in the first round. Did that end up getting canceled?
No, it didn't.
Wow.
I know. I was surprised it did not get canceled. I was like, I've been waiting for it, and no. I think it's because he took real players, whereas the other person was taking Blake Bell in the second round. But he actually took viable players. It just took them at weird places. So that's crazy. So I haven't seen Tyquan Thornton drafted. It's interesting. I didn't even know he was in Kansas City.
Won't be for long.
No, he's not going to make the roster. I don't think Shador Sanders goes. Why are we taking these players? All right, we got our guy. We got Arian Smith, and that is our team. So we can review it now. So our receivers are awesome. I think with Jefferson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Hunter, Jordan Addison, Trey Harris, Calvin Austin, Arian Smith. A lot of upside at the end for best ball, especially with Austin. And like really top heavy here. Running backs are Taylor Swift again, Tyron Tracy, Garendo, Algier Allen. So a good mix of really talented guys with high floors at the top, and then high upside guys at the end. Our quarterback is Joe Burrow, which is great. We didn't stack him with anyone, but that's okay. We did stack McCarthy, our other quarterback, our second quarterback, with Addison, Jefferson, and Hawkinson, who's our main tight end. So I like that, especially given that they have an easy matchup in week 17. And Burrow does too, by the way, against Arizona. Our other tight ends are Waller and Higbee. We also have Richardson as our third quarterback. So how do you think our draft panned out here?
This is definitely my favorite of the best ball drafts we've done together. I think this is our third or fourth. I think it's our third. And it's the first time where the majority of picks, I felt like a player had fallen to us, or at least that there was a clear gap between a player or two and a heap of other guys. So I feel like it was the kind of draft where it fell really nicely. Plus, any situation where you get quite a few wide receivers early and then kind of have a heap of upside at running back, it kind of feels like you've got more chances of having a very good team at the end of the season, because you're far more likely to hit on late running backs than you are on late wide receivers. So I feel like this could be a very good team.
Yeah, I think so too. I really like this team. You're right. Like, we did get some guys. Like, most of the time, we were like, hopefully he falls to us, and he did. Like, that didn't work out with Connor, but for the most part, it really did. So I like this draft. And you know what helped a lot too is that we didn't miss a pick. I think it's the first time we didn't miss a pick. Felt like there's like the third time was like the smooth time, because like remember last time we meant to take Shipley, and we ended up with Geno Smith or something, and the first time something similar happened. So I think that's the key, is not missing a pick. So
it definitely helps. It was also really nice that we were in the middle. Like, I hate drafting on the turn, not only because it causes us to miss picks, but also because you lose a whole heap of value with fallen players not getting back to you. And in this case, they did get back to us most of the time. So that really helped as well, I think.
That's definitely true. All right. I guess that's about it. Any final thoughts before I head out? Or do you want to plug your website, ffdfantasyfootball.com? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously head over to the website if you want rankings on redraft, dynasty, rookie rankings, anything like that. Also, if you've got drafts coming up, we do personalized draft rankings. Every league is different, and you need settings specific to your league. So I will put up personalized rankings for you for a very, very low price, based on specifically league settings. I'll set them up, and I'll even tell you how to draft in that league. I had a lot of success with it over the last couple of years. A lot of people winning their leagues for the first time. So if you would like to be involved in that, please make sure you hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. Plus, if you want to check out my content as well, you can head over to the Fantasy First Down on YouTube.
Sounds good. Yeah, definitely check out Ben's YouTube page. Lots of great stuff on here. This is not the YouTube page, but on YouTube, check it out. Lots of great videos. I really enjoyed watching those. Ahead of the 2024 fantasy season. All right, so Ben, once again, thanks for coming on. It's great having you on as always. It's always great when you're on holiday and you get to come on the show. So hope everything's goes well with your floor and all gets cleaned up, your dishwasher gets repaired quickly, and enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I've still got another week, so you might even see me again. Who knows?
Yeah, it'd be awesome to have you on again next week if possible. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store, and check out Walter Football for tons of content. We'll be back tomorrow with Kenny, so that'll be a lot of fun. But I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.